What happened to OGC? The Forgotten Bootcamp chapter. These ain't my words. I saw a video the other night, about 2 nights ago, on a platform on YouTube called Stunted Growth Music. Salute to them. I watch a lot. I think I may be subscribed to them. I watch a lot of their stuff. Because I feel like they breakdowns and stuff be wild informative, and they talk about a lot of the concept of stunted growth. Basically, it's like they talk about a lot of things that could have grown bigger or went further than what it did, right? And none of us, like I don't know everything about all of these situations. So I watch these things and I get these, these other angles, these other backstories, these other perspectives on these stories. And I'll be like, all right, that makes sense. I don't know. Yeah, interesting, right? But I never really know, you never really know because you never really know. You don't know how accurate the source of information it is. How you never know how accurate the source of information is, because how do you really verify it if you wasn't there? Well, when it comes to this, I was. Also, I believe he did Black Moon before, right? And I watched that, and I was able to appreciate it as well, right? But what I did learn in watching the stories that I was personally, related to, or, I had personal knowledge of, like I was there for basically, I, you know, I was able to see, okay, so he do get some of it wrong, right? He doesn't know everything, and, I get to, it gives me, it gives me further appreciation, and it should give you further appreciation for when people who actually did the thing, or people who were actually there doing the thing that they're talking about, are the ones doing the thing that they're talking about. You understand what I'm saying? Like what Fat Joe said when everybody came down on him, when he was like talking about, yo, if you ain't never, I'm paraphrasing what he said, if you ain't never done this, then don't nobody want to hear you. I don't believe don't nobody want to hear you. I don't agree with that. But I'm saying, if you have done this, you will get the listener, the viewer or whatever, can get a better, a more clear perspective of the happenings and the goings on. So anyway, without further ado, he said some things, right, that I would like to correct. He said that OGC, my brothers, Starang, Louisville, and Top Dog, he said that their first, I believe he said something along the lines of their first album didn't really make any impact, or the impact that the rest of ours, the rest of our situations, our first albums made, right? I don't know. He didn't really speak highly of The Storm, which was OGC's first album. You know what I mean? But he spoke highly of Starang Wonder. He was kind of mispronouncing Starang Wonder. So, that is another thing that gives, that's a cue that, I cue in on things like that. You know what I'm saying? You refer to Starang as Star. Nobody ever called him that, right? So I get, okay, he wasn't there for this. So note it. You understand what I'm saying? This is, a lot of people who do reaction videos and hip hop, appreciation videos. A lot of times the fans will jump in their jump in their comments and tell them to do this one, do OGC, do Bootcamp, do blah 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 blah. So I'm just saying, right off the back, by him referring to Starang as Star, I'm like, okay, he wasn't present. Meaning, I know he wasn't there, but like he wasn't. He's probably younger than our era, or or he just wasn't tuned in. So then he moves on. I guess he refers to the numbers. I don't think he refers to the numbers specifically, but what the truth of the matter is, if you look at the numbers from back then, this is back in the era when niggas was going, when niggas was going gold and platinum for real, or whatever, or for real, because it's another story. But in that, if he got all of his information from Google's, right, and then he Googled their numbers, yes, OGC was the lowest. The Storm may have been the lowest selling album out of the first 4 albums in the Bootcamp run, right? You had Black Moon, End of the Stage, Smith and Wesson, The Shining, Helter Skelter, Nocturnal, and OGC, The Storm, right? We all know that, right? But I feel like I don't really know. Honestly, I really don't know who sold the most or who sold the less at this point right now, right? But what I will say was, what I can say that I agree with him, and people are gonna kill me for saying, not killing me, not doing nothing to me. What I'm saying is, like, this probably won't be a popular opinion to core Bootcamp fans, is The Storm was not one of my favorite Bootcamp albums. Because Bootcamp Clik, as we've always stated, was basic training. It wasn't just basic training. It was, in its truest form, it was on the job training. Like, we didn't recruit each other because of solely or for talent. It was nepotism at its finest, right? So it was like, yo, we wasn't looking for the hottest dudes, the dopest dudes. It was like we looked into our own family and was like, yo, this is what we doing, you doing it too, right? Because this is our way out, right? So, him saying that Starang Wonder was the main standout was true, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, and OGC and OGC. Louisville and Top Dog were literally still, we were all still training, but like, Louisville and Top Dog pretty much had just started rhyming, right? And I, with my professional ear, I can hear that on The Storm. I can tell, you know what I'm saying? So, to the fans, back then everybody and they mama didn't rhyme. Well, at least it didn't feel like it. But back then, if you couldn't rhyme yourself, you wasn't really about to judge somebody who could, unless they was bad, and they were not bad. They were good. They just weren't as solid and, as seasoned as Starang and some of the rest of us. And, they were a new group as well. So I feel like they were still learning when it comes to song structure and things like that. You know what I mean? So yes, to a certain extent, I agree with that. But if you look at their numbers, and if you didn't look at all of the Helter Skelter, all of Bootcamp's numbers, and see comparatively that they weren't that much. It's not that The Storm ain't the worst selling album that the Bootcamp ever put out, and I'm saying that off the top of the head without looking at none of the numbers. In history, nah. But where he says that they didn't have any impact, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that as well. Because like I say, he had to be there. Like, OGC they brought so much sauce to Bootcamp. You understand what I'm saying? It's like Buckshot and Black Moon kicked it off. But if you notice, Black Moon changed when the rest of the Bootcamp came along. Pause. You understand? Like, Buckshot morphed a little bit. He became, more of our visionary. Like the Buckshot throughout End of the Stage wasn't the same Buckshot on Who Got the Props. You know what I'm saying? But like, Smith and Wesson were literally like probably the most militant of us all. right? Buckshot was more like the, more philosophical. Like he started moving into, like right after End of the Stage, he started moving into like a more elevated version of himself. You know what I mean? Helter Skelter was the Wild Boys. You know what I'm saying? We was the Barbarians. And OGC had us, they brought a whole swag and vibe to what we did. Like they brought the fun to the crew. You understand what I'm saying? In a lot of ways. In the vibe, if you was around us, anyway. And their impact was felt. So when he was saying that, he was like everything was set up for them, but Helter Skelter, Smith and Wesson, and Black Moon had everything cracking for them already, and they couldn't capitalize. I don't agree with that. Then when he went to their second albums, I feel like something was left out, very very important. I mean, not very, I don't know how important, but I thought it was a very valid point. He was like they didn't elevate it any. Louisville and Top Dog elevated tremendously on the second album, Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back is probably in my top 3 Bootcamp albums. Like of all of the albums that I revisit today, Empire Strikes Back I probably revisit the most of all, and I think a lot of that has to do with Louisville and Top Dog's, their improvement, but they had a vibe, and their vibe wasn't like the rest of ours. You understand what I'm saying? They went down south. They worked with, I believe, some was it Dungeon Family or Organized North? Somebody down there in that. It worked with them on, yeah. And then he also said that, they definitely brought something. They contributed something to the vibe, and their presence was definitely felt. You know what I'm saying? But if you wasn't there and you only doing your report off of the research, off of the analytics, you're not going to really feel that. Something else he said that they were never blackballed or anything. I don't know if he mentioned that with Buckshot when he did the Black Moon jump off. Because I'm pretty sure I saw him do a Black Moon jump off. That it didn't, it didn't propel me to do one of these. But hell yeah, OGC was blackballed. We was all blackballed, and it was probably because of what we did with OGC. Hell yeah, we was. Hell yeah, they was. And you can still Google. There's still lists right now that you can Bootcamp Clik banned from certain radio stations, BET. Yes, we went through that, and we burnt we burnt some bridges. I don't want to say a lot, but we burnt some bridges. Helter Skelter burnt some of our own, but we had drama with Biggie. Salute to Junior Mafia today. Every member of Junior Mafia today, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? Like we worked past all of that, but that couldn't have helped our career. It couldn't have. It just could not. You know what I mean? Till this day, people are still talking about blackballing. There was a little misunderstanding. I'm gonna just call it that, right? It's the thing sparked. You know what I'm saying? It was misunderstanding over a hook or a line. Somebody used it as a hot line, somebody else used it as a hot song, right? And it didn't belong to neither one of us, but beef started over that, and we ended up making a video where we dissed Biggie Smalls in it. Rest in peace, Biggie, right? Salute the Notorious, right? But it was OGC, it was on OGC song. It was OGC song that we felt the transgression, the trespass or whatever, where the line in the song discrepancy happened. And then it was in the OGC video where we dissed the man, the legend. You know what I mean? And it was me who did the dirty deed in the video. That's why you can't tell me to this day certain niggas still don't rock with me. Not Junior Mafia. I'm just talking about other niggas. It left a bad taste in a lot of, you understand what I'm saying? It is what it is. You know what I mean? But I know for sure, right? If you diss my man Sean Price, right? If you diss Ruck, I'm talking about whether he was alive or dead, you can't now be in the same place with me. So if a promoter wanted to book a show or whatever or something and they wanted to book me or they wanted to book you and they wanted to book me at the same time, this could be problematic. So it's like, who at that point is like to the promoter, who's worth more? Who's the biggest draw? Well, I gotta go with them. And we got boxed out of a lot of things. So just for the record, yes, we were, all of us, either Buckshot, OGC, Bootcamp, Helter Skelter, Smith and Wesson. We are all on somebody's. Maybe not all of us, but either one of the groups, the whole group is on wild no-fly zone lists. As far as like media, or was. You know what I mean? Goodness gracious for the salute to to new technology where I don't necessarily have to go through those platforms to get to y'all. But yeah, I don't know if I don't know if I have any more critiques on the that video, the Stunner Growth joint. But yeah, it was called. What was it called? It was called. What happened to OGC? Bootcamp Clik's Forgotten Chapter. Yeah, that's what it was called. Yeah, the Forgotten Bootcamp Chapter. And my man reached out. I saw it. I wasn't gonna talk about it, but my man VZ hit me up and was like, "Yo, nigga, Top Dog posted the blah 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 blah." I'm like, "Oh word." I'm like, Top Dog got it in him. Top Dog is the type of nigga who, cause he ain't understand why Top Dog posted it, because he felt like the shit was, he felt like the piece was dissing OGC, and like, why would Top Dog even play that? I'm like, cause Top Dog is the type of person who he don't care about that. He might want to show his brethren that this is what they saying about us right now. You understand what I'm saying? We need to, you know what I'm saying? We need to mobilize it. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. Welcome to the nation, y'all. Pause protesters, get your ass out of here. Made it to the end of this video. Let me get 4 microphones. Rock on, rock on.